from the CBW Radio UK studios in Chelmsford, this is Off the Record with Big C and his trusty companions, Jazzy Geoff and Stinky Pete.
Yes, that is me, Big C, and I do have Jazzy Geoff and I have Stinky Pete. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on Facebook, you're watching on X. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. Or you could be listening on Spotify or whatever once the thing has been transferred over the coming days. This is Off the Record, Series 7, number 14, I believe, which is 184 overall. And hello, Messrs. Willis, Peter, and Jeffrey.
Hello.
You're waving at me. For all those not watching on Facebook or X, they're both waving at me at the moment. So, how's it been this week? All right? Nothing exciting happening?
It's been busy. Life is busy.
Yep.
And you as well, Pete. You haven't been out of the country or anything?
No, I haven't been out of the country since, I can't remember when I was in Amsterdam last time, whenever that was. I think I was supposed to be going at the beginning of November, but I'm not very happy with the client, so I may just throw my toys out the cot and stay at home. No, I did go to Hull at the weekend. That was fun.
Which is almost out of the country, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's about as far out of the country as you can get and still be in the country, yeah. So, yeah, that was good fun. But, no, all good apart from that.
Excellent. All right. Well, yeah, we had a bit of wind, if you pardon the expression, didn't we? The storm hit the UK over the weekend or just before, Storm Amy. I don't know. A better name, Amy, I suppose, than we normally
Derek.
have funny. Yeah, some really crazy
Storm
names.
Derek.
Arrobath or something.
Storm Albert or Storm Cuthbert. Yeah, that'll be a good one. It's not even. Yeah, it's not really worth it. Right. Okay. Well, we talk music, obviously, and I'll tell you what. This week, tricky one. What do you think? I've decided. Yeah, we sort of discussed it a few weeks back, didn't we? Or Pete, you sort of hinted at half of the story here. Looking at music and artists, and correcting me if I'm wrong, and given everyone the wrong theme to discuss tonight.
I mean, you know, this has happened before.
So, yeah, the theme is, it's an interesting one, I think. Artists whom are generally disliked. I'm saying in inverted commas, disliked. We're told that they're disliked with no real justification at times, possibly. And well, of course, people will. They have done. I've mentioned this sort of thing on Twitter. I realised about 15 years ago, there's no point arguing with anyone on Twitter. They would deny when I say, well, yeah, people, it's trendy to dislike this and that, and they'll deny it till they're blue in the face. No, that's not why I don't like them. It's because they're not any good. You know, I don't know. We'll discuss that maybe at length. But spinning that also, which is the one that was probably a little bit more tricky, was looking at other artists. I've called them sort of cult. That's a CULT artists.
Not in two of the cases I've got.
Oh right, okay.
The other spelling would have been a lot easier.
Maybe so. But artists whom I don't know, people love. They're adoring fans, very loyal fans that will love anything they do, regardless of what it is and whether or not it's any good. And I realise this is very, very, very subjective. It always is. I mean, I've got a proviso, of course, on all of my lists. I've got a list of those from both the categories, but certainly on the left side of the categories, which is for me the one about the loyal fans liking things for no real reason, for want of a better expression. There are certainly songs by all of the artists, I would say, each of them, that I do like one or two songs by. In fact, love one or two songs by, but overall, I'm looking at, don't really know why they got such a loyal fan base. That's pretty much how I've looked at it.
I
Jeff,
found this really hard to do.
Yeah.
In fact, I found it so hard to do
You
that
didn't
I
do
haven't
it.
done it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I started writing lists of people down, and I've got a few written down. And I thought, actually, it all depends on what your definition of like and good and purpose is.
Well, yeah, I agree.
So I kind of thought, I know. Well, all I'll do is I'll join in the discussion while Pete rants, because that's what's going to happen.
I probably will.
And,
You're probably right.
And we can see whether there's any.
I have given this a great deal of intellectual thought, and I have sought the advice of colleagues, some of whom are in the music industry.
I thought you were going to say advice of Colin there, so I thought, no, he hasn't.
He must have another mate called Colin, mustn't he?
And my general principle is never seek advice from anybody called Colin, and you probably aren't going to go too far wrong.
That's it.
It's true. You don't get many Collins. Collins are normally interpreted as being a bit nerdy, I always think. I said it on the air because I played a track called Colin. Someone requested a track
which
Colin,
made me laugh.
I can't remember who that was by now.
Probably best.
But in any case, yeah, because they're normally nerdy, thick rimmed glasses, computer whizzes, you know. But yeah, okay, colleagues. You've discussed with colleagues.
Yeah. So anyway, Jeff, you were just saying I was going to rant, but I'm not going to. So what else were you going to say?
Well, no, that was it. So I'm basically just going to see where this goes and chuck my 10th in occasionally, because I'm really struggling with the whole concept.
Okay.
Well, let me throw in my 2 as a starter. I think you have to disaggregate the bands that you don't like, because part of this is about, well, I just don't like that music. But if you do that, then it's just a list of all the bands I don't like, and then the bands that I do like that other people don't, and that kind of is a bit silly because that doesn't add anything to the discussion. So I've approached this thing about what you've called the cults. I've approached that by saying, which are the bands which, in my opinion, and in the opinion of some of the people I've talked to, have got a aura about them which is difficult to understand why. But then there's another element to it, which is those bands which people feel almost a social pressure to say that they like. So in other words, if you don't like trendy band X, then you are in some way diminished as a human because you don't like these people. And I think you can then flip that on its head and look at the bands that you do like, and you could kind of do exactly the same. Do I like them do people not like them because they feel external pressure not to like them? Or do they actually
Not like them?
Not like them because they don't like them? So in other words, there's a difference between, I want to be part of a gang that doesn't like this. So let me give you an example, okay? I was thinking about this today, and I was talking to some of my old schoolmates. When we were at school in like the 5th and 6th form, so we kind of were grown up enough to appreciate a different kind of music. You never, ever, ever admitted to liking Elton John or the Carpenters. Okay. Now, I'm not a huge Elton John fan. I've got 3 of his albums. I think that Goodbye Yellow Brick Road stands the test of time as one of the great albums of all time. And you and I share a love of the Carpenters, Karen Carpenter's voice, their songwriting. They are pretty well faultless at what they do. But at school, it was basically like admitting to having chlamydia that you liked Elton John or the Carpenters.
I agree with you.
That was a social pressure thing. It was nothing to do with what you liked. It was, oh, blimey, everybody else says they're naff, so I better be part of the gang that says they're naff.
I think that's an age thing, not a social pressure. It is social pressure, but I think it's an age social pressure. So
Well, I was
absolutely. A few years younger than you, in fact, a lot of years younger than you, really. And when we were at school, like you weren't, no, not one, at least four. You weren't allowed to like the Osmonds. Like you just weren't.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
yeah.
In hindsight, they were really good at what they did.
Yeah.
Whether you like what they did or you didn't like what they did, they were very, very good at what they did. So, and I think that's what you're trying to say. But I suspect that that's going to be the case with everybody at that sort of age, where peer pressure is so important to you.
Well, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
it is an age thing. I mean, once you got older, you realise that you like what you like, basically, don't you? It doesn't matter whether or not Fred Bloggs or John Doe like that particular style. I'm trying to think when my year at school, whether there are certain artists that sort of went through phases where it was trendy and then it wasn't trendy and then it was back to trendy again, wasn't it? I mean, ABBA is a classic example, I think, actually. I don't think it was particularly trendy to be a fan of ABBA in the mid-70s.
In an all-boys school, it was damn near dangerous.
Well, yes.
but Agneta did have a nice bum.
We couldn't possibly comment on that, could we, Geoff?
I've only ever seen her face. I've never looked anywhere else personally, but you know.
Probably from a profile as well in one of the videos.
Absolutely, that one.
That one, that one there, yeah. And then that one. It doesn't work on Spotify, does it?
No.
But yeah, that's an example. I'm trying to think of others around that, but there certainly are. The Osmonds, yeah, would be a classic example. Osmonds and David Cassidy. I mean, you look back and you listen to some of these songs now, and well, not just now, but over the last many years since I've left school. And David Cassidy had actually a much better voice than Donny Osmond, I think.
Way better.
If a bit breathy. He was a bit of a breathy singer, wasn't he, David Cassidy? No, not breasts, breathy.
Yes.
Pete. Yeah. So yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's more, as Geoff said. I think it might be a more of an age thing. But is that silly though, isn't it? Going by the masses and what you think is fashionable to like and what isn't.
I would place money, if I had any, and I haven't. I will place money on the fact
that thing we do have in common.
if you go to a school today and talk music,
yeah,
then there will be a whole bunch of late teenage girls who will say you have to like Taylor Swift, and a whole bunch of late teenage boys who go, you have to hate Taylor Swift, or her music at least, because they'd all go, she's got a great bum, which she has. But the fact of the matter is that those of us that can stand back at the tender age of 99 can say, actually, she's really, really, really good at what she does.
I was thinking that. I was literally thinking. Yeah, I was thinking that today when you played that Taylor Swift song. And I was thinking, it's not something I go out and buy, but I've seen her doing stuff on YouTube with the Stones and doing, I can't remember, Satisfaction on one of the Stones songs, and she absolutely nails it, and they do it really well together. And I think someone like her, I wouldn't choose the music, but I absolutely 100% understand why she's a star, because she is, and she's very good at what she does. But I don't think, and there is a cult around Taylor Swift, the Swifties. But I don't think that is the same as the cult that there was around the Spice Girls in the 90s over here. Because the difference is that they didn't have an ounce of talent between them except Mel.
See, you're absolutely wrong.
Oh.
Okay, you are absolutely and categorically wrong.
All
The
right.
Spice Girls were fantastic at what they did. And
I
what
agree.
they did was vapid. That's not a word.
Vapid.
Vapid.
That's the
Thank
word
you.
you're looking for.
Was vapid. We've used it before. Bubble gum. Throw it away. But they got an entire generation of girls to stand up and say, "We like this. We want to be like this."
Yeah, absolutely.
They sold millions and millions and millions of records and have become, some of them at least, hugely wealthy and hugely famous. So tell me what they've done wrong.
Being the Spice Girls.
No,
I must
you
admit,
can't
I'm
say
winding you up. I'm winding you up. I
had never liked the Spice Girls.
No,
It's
and I can't
it's
stand
one of the
it.
artists. It's one of the artists whom I just think it was all image. Well,
Yep.
as Pete suggested there, all image, limited talent.
Mel
I
B.
don't disagree with either of you,
Okay,
except that
they
they
sold
have
lots
been
of people.
hugely successful
Yeah,
with the generation in the same way as the Rolling Stones were with that generation, and ABBA was with that generation. And we've had this conversation that they have achieved with their generation, their sex as well, an enormous following and
Now
an
we're not
enormous wealth
are
and an enormous back catalogue. So how can you say that they're not good? Because they are good. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, but on that basis, everybody who sells records is good, and that's clearly not right. Well,
Which is why I struggled with this.
Okay, so let's stop the podcast now and talk about football, because that basically detonates the entire. That basically detonates the entire argument. Because if the entire argument is that the Spice Girls are good because they're good, then the argument that people follow a cult because they're a cult and not because they're any good then doesn't hold water. At some point in the line, you've got to say there are bands which mystifyingly are successful, and I would put the Spice Girls into the mystifyingly successful bag.
I mean, they could sing.
Mel B could sing.
Yeah, well, the
Beckham woman. No, the Beckham woman couldn't sing at all. She literally was useless.
And yet she's the most famous and the richest of all of them.
Yes, because she married David Beckham, and everybody
apart from Ginger, who made a fortune because she was really good at marketing.
And she married Christian Horner. So none of that takes away from the fundamental fact. What we're supposed to be talking about here is bands or artists that people take against for whatever reason, and bands that have got this reputation which outweighs what they actually have contributed and delivered. And I think that the Spice Girls is an example of that latter category. And I don't think Taylor Swift is, because anybody listening to Taylor Swift's output, anybody listening to her songwriting, her words, would say that she is a real talent. Now, you might not like her, but that you can't take away from the talent. And I'll put my head above the parapet here and say, of the bands that I can't stand, I'm not going to sit here and argue that. I'm not going to sit here and argue that people who support Queen are in a cult, and that they weren't good at what they did. They were. I just don't like them. The same with Kate Bush. I don't like her. I can't stand her voice, and she drives me nuts. Do I think that she has a following that's undeserved? No, I just don't like her. That's a different thing. It's a completely different thing. It's a totally different discussion.
Well, I did
talking about bands you don't like.
I didn't have Spice Girls actually on any of my lists. I didn't add them on a list of.
Well, I didn't have them on the list either. I just threw them in there.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not for me a band that it's fashionable to dislike. I didn't think, or a band who, well, maybe they could fall into that category. The other one of having a lot of followers, loyal followers, because they're not around now, are they? Or are they? I don't know. Whether
Well,
they're
they did a reunion because Kizzy and Sophie and the girls in my family went, and I said, "Good luck to you, enjoy."
All 5 of them, or was it all just?
No, it was all 5 of them.
Beckham was there as well. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right.
Juggling a football and
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. Yeah, I agree. I've played a couple of songs from that album actually, and it varies. I mean, I liked the one I played yesterday, which was a much slower, just her voice, the piano. Whereas today it was a little bit more poppy, and that isn't to my taste.
no, it's not to mine, but that doesn't it doesn't take away from her talent and her ability as a songwriter. You know,
No,
I don't particularly
agreed.
like Ed Sheeran, but he's the troubadour of his generation. You know,
That is the next one I was going to come on to. We
totally understand why people like him. You know, and now, I don't dislike him, but
Colin, what were you going to say about Ed Sheeran? Because he's one of the ones that I've got on the list.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran. I'm going to say Ed Sheeran is a multi-talented guy, and he's one of those artists I think that a lot of people find they dislike. About all of these artists in that list, in that category for me, the one overriding factor is that they are absolutely incredibly successful.
Yes,
So
and that is the same. That's the same on my list.
You could say that they are massively successful. So obviously, the more exposure they have, you're more likely to get people that say they don't like them. But I mean, whether or not that's because, oh yeah, I don't like Ed Sheeran because everyone doesn't like Ed Sheeran, or they don't like him. I think he's a very talented guy, very talented songwriter.
Great, totally.
A lot of the stuff he does. Again, if he gets a little bit poppy, I'm not quite so keen on it. I like the troubadour style with him and his just guitar. He started a new genre, really, in the noughties, I think it was, wasn't he, when he started? I remember seeing him on Jules Holland's later program the first time, singing the 18. Not, B.A. Baracus and all that, sucker, but the 18 song. And I appreciate that, and I like a lot of the. I'd much rather hear a guy sing a song with a guitar than having all these poppy stuff and auto tunes and making silly noises, vocal gymnastics instead of singing a song straight. But Ed Sheeran, I do love in parts. I'd certainly put him on the ones maybe where people dislike, as I'd put Taylor Swift actually with the question mark.
Can I make a suggestion then that we park the cults for a minute? Careful what I say.
Yeah.
And that we concentrate on the bands that people have taken against for reasons which make no sense. But then I think we could have a little conversation about why we think that's happened. Because certainly 2 of the ones I've got on here, on my list, and I've got 6 or 7. I think there's a reason for it, but it doesn't justify it.
Okay, well, before we go on to that, then, Jeff, were you going to say something about Ed Sheeran? Is he on why is he liked so much, or are you in why is he disliked so much?
So I've got little lists, as I started writing them. I thought, no, I can't get my head around this.
Yep.
But Ed Sheeran, I've got on both.
Interesting.
There is some Ed Sheeran stuff that I think that's a really good song, and he delivers it beautifully. The 18 is an example, but the whole of that first album is a pretty good album, really.
I don't know, was it the plus or minus?
I don't know. I got very confused with these signs, but
I'm never any good at maths, me. So
no, never. Yeah. And then every now and again, I hear something. Oh, that's Ed Sheeran, and I go, yeah, that's really not very good. Now, I'm not the person in the world. I don't, with all due respect to both of you lovely people, I'm not certain that any of us have the right to judge musically what someone's talent is. Because to be perfectly blunt, all of these guys, Colin, I don't know you well enough and your musical ability. all of these guys and ladies are better musicians than I'll ever be.
No. I've got 2 on my list which are way worse than any of us.
Okay.
Trust me. When we get to that list, there are 2 who are worse than all of us.
Okay.
Incoming,
but I mean, some of them may be electronics geniuses, which I'm not. I cannot decide about Ed Sheeran. Sometimes I think that's a really good song. Other times I think he is way overrated for what he's able to produce. And then he comes up with another good song, and I go, "Oh, maybe I'm wrong then."
But is it so? Okay, you've got him on both lists, but the subject of the podcast is it fashionable to dislike Ed Sheeran, but he's actually very good, or is there a cult following Ed Sheeran and he isn't all that?
Well, that's why I've got him on both, because I think there is a cult following for Ed Sheeran.
All right.
And I'm not certain that he deserves it. But actually, if he doesn't, it might be fashionable to dislike him, even though he actually is quite good. But I can't get my head around it. There's 1 or 2 who I can nail my colours to the mast of. But not Ed.
All right. So rather than just to make this kind of, because we're doing this by conversation, not list. The list doesn't make sense. So why don't we say who we've got on our list of bands that it's fashionable to dislike, and then and we'll all do that, and then have a kind of general conversation about why, rather than go, because otherwise we'll take the whole podcast talking about 2 or 3 of them. How about that as an idea?
Yeah, sure. And
Okay.
I think we're probably maybe the first one I've got on my list of bands that are fashionable to dislike, and I'm sure that at least one of you will have it on the list as well.
I'm certain that it will be the same one that's top of my list, and then my second one will be also on your list.
Yes, and it probably is. I'm talking obviously Coldplay.
I've got Coldplay on my list, and we can add to that U2.
Yeah, I've got U2.
I've got U2.
Okay, so we've got those. So
we've all got U2. I haven't got Coldplay.
Okay,
because actually I just think Coldplay are good. Full stop. So,
but a lot of people criticise them, and it's unfashionable to like them.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Which was the point?
It's unfashionable to like them. If people, people often will say that, oh, Coldplay, but why? Why do people dislike Coldplay then? I'm trying to. Is it Chris Martin, the singer?
Well, you see, I think that then links to why people don't like U2.
Yeah, same thing.
Because it's a personality of an individual, which then tars the band. I mean, I love U2. I cannot make any rational argument for not liking U2, other than the fact, it's fine. We all have likes and dislikes. I can't stand Kate Bush. We all, but when you look at U2, what is it that people don't like? Okay, great words, great rock music with a social conscience. So what don't people like? They don't like the fact that Bono has nailed his colours to the mast and used his position to make political statements. Well, okay, so don't like Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, and all the other people who've done that through history. And they say that that The Edge plays a boring arpeggio guitar style. But every single guitarist on the planet has a style. You listen to Santana, 2 seconds in. Listen to Jimi Hendrix, 2 seconds in. Listen to Steve Howe, 2 seconds in. Listen to Dickie Betts, 2 seconds in. Pick a guitarist, any guitarist, you can spot them if you understand guitar. What is the difference with Bono? Rick Parfitt. Yeah. What is the difference? So what is it about U2? Massively successful. Take Jeff's argument about the Spice Girls. Massively successful, brilliant back catalogue, sell-out tours all around the world. You have to kill to get tickets. Why don't people like that? They don't like it because they don't like Bono and they don't like them being successful.
I'll tie this in with Coldplay again. Is it anything to do with it? Might be a discussion to be had, no doubt. Is it something to do with how they started and how they developed into what many consider they've both maybe
Sold out.
swapped from basically, like alternative rock sound, and they've moved to a more commercial sound.
Yeah,
And you
maybe.
could argue the same with Coldplay. You could argue the same with U2. And maybe that's it. They're just not rock and roll anymore. I just Googled actually, why do people hate U2? And one of the things they've said here was the classic "Where the Streets Have No Name" video typifies why they are so widely derided. Performing on the roof of a liquor store in LA, U2 explicitly aimed to shut down the streets, attracting a large crowd from all over to witness their performance. They later stated that their goal was to create chaos, which they successfully achieved. However, despite the pandemonium, their stunt didn't come across as punk as it was intended to be.
Can I jump in here for a second?
You like U2, don't you? Or no, you don't like U2.
Okay. There's some of their songs I really like. As a band, orally, like through my ears, I cannot listen to more than one or two songs at a time.
Yeah, because they're too high.
I find the pitch. You're absolutely right. The pitch of their music and the insistency of their music difficult to deal with. So, but that's not a reason to say they're no good, because they are clearly very good at what they do. I think that the reason that people don't like U2 as a statement is the same reason that they don't like Man United as a statement. It's a perceived arrogance of the position that they hold. Now, I don't think it's got anything to do with social conscience. I don't think it's got anything to do with lyrics. I don't think it's got anything to do with the knob wearing sunglasses indoors, or whatever it might be. I think it is a perceived arrogance, and they exacerbated that by dropping an album in that no one wanted onto their iPhones, because, well, we're U2, we can do it, and you can like it or lump it. And I think it's that sort of feeling that people went, no, we don't like that, therefore we don't like U2.
Yeah, it's easy.
Why don't you like Man United? None of us like Man United, because they think they should be at the top of the tree all the time, and they're fucking and they're not as good as they should be, and therefore they don't deserve to be there. But they still give this aura, and so do the press, that they should be there because they're Man United. And I think that's the same reasoning for U2. I don't think that's the same reasoning for Coldplay, because actually I think Chris Martin is quite an understated person in himself. I think he's quite a withdrawn.
I think he's quite a funny guy.
Yeah, I like him. I like Coldplay. So,
well, you see, I like Coldplay's early stuff. I don't particularly like their later stuff, but you know, Kizzy went to see them in Manchester. Absolutely said they were absolutely brilliant. I've never seen them live, but I'm sure they're very good live. So I don't understand. Well, for the same reasons, I don't understand. Oh, by the way, Bono wears glasses inside because he has an eye problem, an eye issue, and he does. That's why he wears them inside.
I believe you.
That's right.
And I do believe you, and that should be known and understood.
Anyway, so we've talked about Coldplay and U2, and we reckon that it's. I think you're right, Jeff. It's the Man United thing. But then we've also said Coldplay. Maybe it's about Chris Martin, etc. So let me give you another one that's on my. Well, actually, okay. I had a conversation with Wyatt about this and said, right, as an insider, who, and you know, a drummer and a DJ, and who's been in the music industry all your life, who would you say, if this was the topic, who would be the first people that came out? And he mentioned U2, but the two he mentioned are Bryan Adams, and he said the one who is the one that everybody, the original love to hate artist, Phil Collins.
Now I've got Phil Collins on my list here.
Right. Well, so his two were Bryan Adams and Phil Collins. And I said, well, why Bryan Adams? He said, because loads of people will tell you that Bryan Adams is kind of like he didn't. These weren't his exact words. I'm kind of interpreting what he said, but he's basically a faux rock star. So basically, he's got this whole thing, and he's got this catalogue of sing along rock songs. But you know, you put Bryan Adams in a kind of thing with a load of other rock bands, then who's Bryan Adams? You know. So I thought they were interesting perspectives. Now, I mean, I know about the Phil Collins thing. Which was he would have been on my list anyway. Bryan Adams one I didn't, so I don't know whether that's just Wyatt's perspective or whether other people have said that. So I mean, I wouldn't have picked Bryan Adams out particularly.
No, I mean, I love Bryan Adams. I love most of his stuff. He hasn't really changed a great deal over the years, and you know how I love that.
Yeah,
He
well,
hasn't
yeah, you know
branched
what you're
out
going to get.
too much.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get. It says it on the tin, and you get it. And he still performed very good live. Interesting that we saw U2 live a few years ago. First time and only time I've seen them live. They were very good. And Coldplay are always excellent live. And Bryan Adams is very good live too. So that's something. Maybe
do you think the Bryan Adams things might be from across the pond because he's Canadian and not American?
Well, that could be it. Yes,
he sounds American. He looks American. People think he's American, but he's not.
Yeah, maybe that could be something.
I don't know. We have a mutual friend who knows him, who says he's a really, really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
Like just a very genuine man.
I'm sure he is.
I'm a very nice guy, actually.
And he has written some terrific songs. So when Wyatt mentioned it, I thought, well, what is there to dislike? You know, he comes across as a decent bloke in the same. Yeah, you know, he comes across as a decent bloke like Springsteen comes across.
He's a journeyman rock star who does what he does. And there's I can't see anything wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Wyatt has heard things in the business that none of us have been privy to. Yeah, I don't know, but in terms of who likes him and who doesn't. He's also got a great band, Bryan Adams.
He has got a great band.
Keith Scott is superb as a guitarist. He really is. Love to see him play the guitar. Sorry.
So
Pete,
what about Phil Collins then?
Phil Collins, well, I had him on my list. Is that, again, is it like Coldplay, like U2? I don't know. He's sort of gone from, in his case, proggy sound to a more pop, or to a more rocky sound, a more commercial mainstream sound, to a more pop rock sound. I don't know. Is it this?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. So I think this comes up from the fact that the prog rock followers of Genesis, who adored Peter Gabriel, and rightly so, who adored Peter Gabriel and the way and what he did, when Collins took the lead, suddenly they went commercial, and I suspect an awful lot of those worthy prog rock musician-y types, when this is not what we do, it's all Phil's fault, and therefore we won't like him and anything he does. He's a very good songwriter, and he's written some really, really top quality stuff, some of which I really like, some of which I can't bear, and there's not much in between.
But again, that's about, and I agree with you, that's about like personal likes and dislikes.
Absolutely.
I got John Harris got me a copy of, what was his first, the one within the air tonight? What was that first album called?
Oh, I Must Be Going, is it? Or was it
the one which is just his face in black and white on the front of it? What's it
called? Carry on, I'll find out.
Anyway, well, whatever that was, John, I think he recorded it for me. And I listened to it a lot when I first got it. And for some reason, I can't remember, it must have been when I got my new hi-fi, 10, 12 years ago. I played it on the tape deck before the tape deck broke. And I played it through and I thought, why did I like this? And it was one of those weird things where, I hadn't played it for, I don't know, 10, 12 years maybe. And I just played, when I did play it again, I thought, I don't understand why I like this. Now, it wouldn't make me go, I don't understand why anybody likes Phil Collins, because he clearly was a very good drummer. And as you say, a good songwriter. You can not like some of the songs. I don't like some of U2's songs. But you know I think he's one of those people who is divisive for reasons which escape me.
Is it something to do with the personal thing as well? Him personally, wasn't Phil Collins allegedly said to have wanted to left his wife by text or something, and that sort of had a real backlash against him. It was something along those lines, I think. A bit like how Krista Berg, there's another one. Everyone hates Krista Berg. Don't they?
No, no one hates Krista Berg, but everybody hates Woman in Red.
Is that what it is? The Lady in Red?
That's an awful song.
Okay. It was a theme for a film, though, was it not?
Was it?
Still. Yeah, it was. It sort of fitted.
Was it a pornography film?
No, remind me not to watch the film. Whatever it was.
Wasn't it The Woman in Red? Was that not?
Yeah, there was a film. There was a film called Woman in Red.
Woman in Red with Kelly Brock.
Yes.
Or Kelly Brook. One of the two.
Was it? I thought it was Christy Brinkley.
No, it wasn't Christy Brinkley.
Oh, whoever. Anyway,
no, it wasn't that tall.
Maybe.
No, I'm sure it was Kelly.
Kelly
LeBrock. Mrs. Seagal, you mean?
It could be.
Kelly LeBrock was married to Steven Seagal, wasn't she?
It wasn't Kelly LeBrock then. Maybe it was Kelly.
I hope she fired him by text.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know whether that's the case. I don't know the cast versions. But not only is he a great songwriter, not only is he a great drummer, I think he's a great singer. And me personally, I prefer his voice to Peter Gabriel's from orally.
I get that. I get that completely. I mean, I think Peter Gabriel's aura within the band and the way that he took the band and all that theatrical whatever. If you like that sort of thing, he was superb at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, a lot of people don't like that sort of thing, and I'm not a huge fan, but he was really good at it.
But again, that's about what we like and what we dislike. It's not about people taking against them. So again, I think that's an interesting element in all of this. Okay, so we've talked about them. Let me throw 3 more in. Okay. Wyatt and I have had this conversation a lot in the past, not now. I just remembered. Nickelback. People.
Yeah, I've got them written down. I don't know why, because I wouldn't have had them up as the sort of the Coldplay U2 height of success sort of band.
No, they're not.
I think I do. I think I know what this is because I think they hold the same state. Now, this might be a United States thing again, so please forgive me, anyone over there who's listening. But I think they're held in the same breath as Green Day, because I think the word that you used earlier, Colin, was faux. I think they are seen as a pretend rock band. So they're not really rockers. They're just doing rock out of pretense. In the same way Green Day weren't really American. They wanted to be English. What was that, Pete?
They're also Canadian, aren't they? Nickelback.
Oh, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, they're Canadian. I'm sure they are. When I say I'm sure, I mean I think I'm sure. but no, I mean I think
you could be sure if you knew more about it. You mean?
Yeah, exactly.
They are Canadian. They are Canadian. And by the way, while I'm at it, Face Value was the Phil Collins album.
Face Value. Yeah, that's the one. Which I took at face value as being good. Anyway, so Nickelback I think fall into that category, and I think you're right, Jeff. I think they're not really a rock band, but they want to be in the rock space. So I think that's that maybe is that. Stereophonics.
So many bands. Sorry, there's so many bands of that genre, like Nickelback. Why them so much though? I mean, I don't know. It's quite sort of grunge.
Because they're not rock.
And bands like that. What, grunge isn't rock?
Well, but Nickelback aren't grunge. Nickelback are just a straight up rock band.
Okay.
They're a straight up rock band that people take against. I don't know.
Do you think it's because he's got lovely hair?
Or maybe.
People are jealous of his lovely hair.
And again, maybe we're talking about global success and the why that people hate people is because they hear them so much. That song was heard all the time, wasn't it? When it came to How You Remind Me. And maybe it's just that song that people have got to hate so much because they've heard it so much. I don't know. I never know why if you overhear something and you grow to dislike it because you've heard it so much. Because it's either a good song or it's not a good song. But that's another
Trust me.
debate.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Anyway,
I know. That's why I was going to say let's move on from that. But now you brought them
Stereophonics.
up. Now you brought them up. I was going to say Queen.
No. No.
I don't think Queen hold that status. I don't think they hold the status of it's trendy to dislike them or that it's trendy to like them. They're just a good band, and people either like them or they don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've said for ages, I'm not going to denigrate their position in rock music history because that will be stupid. They're probably in the top 10 bands of all time. I just happen not to like them.
Can I throw one in just for fun?
Yeah.
Cliff Richard.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough.
Now, somebody tell me why it is trendy. Why is it trendy not to like Cliff Richard?
Over to you, Colin.
Well, we don't want to put out a lawsuit here. That's the only problem. But I think his no, what I can't really say. I think there's an element of it was a bit. I think most people don't mind his very early stuff from Cliff Richard. The sort of rock and roll, the British Elvis, like come on, little bit, move it in and groove it. You know? Many would think, right, if he didn't make any records after that, that would have been fine. And they'd probably be close to the truth. I'm not.
You played "Miss You Nights" the other day.
Yeah,
"Miss You Nights" is a great song.
Yes. You see, I'm getting into the dissing people just for the laugh, for a laugh, which is one of the things that people do.
He's had a #1 hit record in every decade since the 1950s.
Well, yeah, he did. Probably
He did.
not.
He did.
More recently, he probably hasn't as many years ago.
I don't think he has in 2020s, but up to the 10s, he did.
Up to the 10s, he has.
#1 in the 10s? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know.
And like,
good voice.
He was the biggest selling calendar for whatever, was it 30 years running or something?
Could be.
And yet people go, oh, Cliff Richard's awful. Why? What's the matter with him? He's got a great voice. He has got a great voice. Oh, sorry,
significantly better than Elvis's.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh no. No, we don't want any rants. Or
no.
No.
Yes. He's got a good voice. And he changed with the times.
Yes.
That's good, isn't it?
Without looking any older at all the whole time.
There's an awful lot of Cliff stuff that I don't like. But there's an awful lot of stuff that I do. And he's sold a huge, but it's really trendy not to like him. I suspect that's something to do with his perceived sexuality.
Yes, exactly.
And I think it's something to do with his perceived religion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's all to do with it.
And both of those seem unfair to me.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm not a Cliff Richard fan, but there's half a dozen of his songs that I really like, and I think he's got a great voice, and I think he is taken against for exactly what you mentioned: his perceived sexuality, his perceived religion, the fact that he was this kind of, face of Saturday night TV with I Live in a Newtfield Pond and all the rest of it, and it was just the whole thing was just people just went nah, and I don't understand why.
And a Eurovision as well, bit of Eurovision thrown in, wasn't he? He was very Eurovision for about 6 years or so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what else about Cliff Richard really.
I
would have him on the list. I would have him on the list of ones that is trendy to dislike. I don't know why I didn't put him on there actually.
Right.
Okay.
I've got a band who are massively divisive. Okay, they're very, very trendy to dislike, and yet they sell out tours everywhere they go, and I do not understand what it is people don't like about them, and that is Muse. Now, I've never heard a Muse song that I didn't like. Okay, now I don't know all of their catalogue, but and it's really weird because amongst my kids, some of them, like Ruben, were massive Muse fans. Nick can't stand them because he thinks they're faux prog. And I just look at them and I look at them playing live, and this massive wall of sound that they produce from three guys who came from Devon. I mean, rock and roll central. And I just go, what is it that people, why is it trendy to dislike Muse when everybody I know who loves them, it just, follows them to the ends of the earth? And everything I've heard, I just go, why would you not like that? Why?
Colin, you're clever, aren't
you? No, not really.
You are. Tell me a Muse song that I might know, because I'm struggling to pick any song I've ever heard of theirs.
Starlight, Black Holes and
Nights of Sidonia. Yeah, Black Holes and Revelations. That's for me. That's their best.
Recognise them if you heard them.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to choose a couple tomorrow. So.
All right. Well, you'll hear one or two. But
I don't think I like them. I won't listen then.
Interestingly, you mentioned Muse, and I like Geoff with who was it? It was on both lists for you.
Ed
Sheeran. I'm sort of on the fence with Muse. Originally, I was thinking like Pete was saying, it's trendy to dislike. Yeah. But also, I've actually put them in the other side, which is why they've got a massively loyal following. I think Pete said that himself. Massively loyal following that love everything they do, when they're just not brilliant. I don't know. This is what
But you see, that is, for me, that's the difference. They really are brilliant at what they do. They are absolutely brilliant.
Okay, I won't argue. But I know they're good live.
Like it. They're fantastic live.
I've heard they're good live. Yeah. Some bands are good live, better live than they are.
Better live. Yes, I agree. They're one of the more modern bands. Like when going to see Ghost, who were fantastic live. They're one of the bands I really want to go and see because they are so good live. And they're just, I think their music's terrific.
I suggest going to see Coldplay if you can get a
ticket. No, I will try and go.
Off the earth probably to see them. But Muse, okay, fair enough.
That was all off my list. I haven't got anything else on this.
No, well, you mentioned Stereophonics earlier on, which you tried to get that in a couple of times. Was that
I just threw them in. That was one of the ones that Wyatt and I talked about, and he said, Stereophonics, people don't like them, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Oh, I wouldn't be sure. I haven't, not aware that people dislike them. Good rock voice, Kelly Jones has got. Saw them live actually as well at the O2 just before the first lockdown, I think it was. So when was that? 2019, 2020? I don't know when it was.
March 2020.
Yeah, that's when it was then. Yeah, it was literally the day before almost. The next day it was everyone was at the stay indoors. Okay, so that's all your list from the ones.
Yeah, I haven't got anything else of that.
Have you got anyone else you can think of?
I've got one other one that's been mentioned a number of times in the past podcasts that we've talked about.
Yeah,
that might fit in this category. Category.
Cat
of nine tails, and that's Meatloaf.
Oh, okay.
Now I don't know whether it's trendy anymore. He's dead, but I don't know whether it's trendy anymore to dislike him for no apparent reason, or whether he. But my understanding is that he was not popular across the culture. Generally,
you could be right. He was talented. I mean, in a certain field. Again, getting down to personal taste, because I'm not a great fan of this overblown performances and emotional performances that he gave in every song. The only thing that Stinks might like about him, because the songs are probably about 8 or 9 minutes long, a lot of them.
Yeah, but I don't like Meatloaf. I never did. But that's a personal thing.
I mean,
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
we saw him live. He was fabulous.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure.
as a live act, that's what you need. You need that slight excessiveness of
Maybe so.
stuff. It doesn't quite always transfer to vinyl or disc even. But I don't know. I get the impression that he might be one of those people that's trendy not to quite like, but actually there's no real good reason why you shouldn't. Apart from you don't like his music, that's fine. You know.
Well, yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
I think it's the difference between I don't like them because I don't like them, as opposed to I don't like the music. I recognise their place in the music pantheon, but I don't happen to like the music. And I think those two things are very different, which was kind of what I was trying to say at the start.
Okay, well, I would then throw. I've mentioned you're not going to talk about Queen. You've both mentioned Queen and your various thoughts on Queen. Neither side. ABBA was for a little while probably unfashionable to like. It is still in some cases, I guess. What about Mumfords?
Absolutely unjustified.
Yeah, I would agree. Mumfords. I think a lot of people dislike the Mumfords.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
yeah, no, actually, that's an interesting one. It is fashionable to dislike them, and I don't understand why.
No.
Mumford and Sons.
Fabulous.
Why?
Strange. I think they're a great band. And I would say, well, we're talking about bands having a loyal following and they don't change, like Bryan Adams. I mean, I'm sure it's quite unfashionable for people to not like status quo for a similar reason, actually. Like, they all play the same song. It's all a bit of a joke. They become a bit of a joke, didn't they? They're always joked about, same old songs all the time, blah, 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 blah.
They can only play 3 chords. They just don't know
Only
which
play
one to play
3
them in.
chords, all that sort of nonsense. And I'm sure they can play 3.5, the way I've heard it anyway. But people dislike them for that. But whether they actually dislike them, that's the thing. Trendy to dislike, do they actually dislike them? Who knows what's going through their minds? But that was another one. And of course, a lot of my artists on that side of the thing, which is dislike, trendy to dislike, you could probably put a lot of people would have the same artists on the other list, which is they're kind of interchangeable, I'm sure, for some.
Yeah, they are.
For example, the Beatles. Everyone says you get a certain category of people that will say they're overrated, the most overrated band of all time, blah, 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 blah. You do get those all the time. And that's become a bit of a trend.
Yeah,
but that's not true because that's the Rolling Stones.
No, it's a trend. It is a trend, but you can dismiss that because those people clearly don't have brains. So you can't argue in any rational way that the Beatles are overrated. There literally would be no rock music without the Beatles. So that's just bollocks. And anybody who thinks that is a moron. Right?
Well, yeah, I agree.
That's what
I agree too.
I've dealt with that one. Right, moving on. Shall we talk about cults instead then?
Yeah, sorry, talk about
cults.
Okay, yeah. So artists,
I've got a Steve Coogan moment.
I've got a few. That's brilliant. That clip, wasn't it?
It's superb.
Coogan thingy. Yeah, I've got a number of bands, but it might sort of overlap a little bit with the podcast we did a little while ago, many moons ago actually. When did we do this with Wyatt? I can't remember.
No, Wyatt was. We did. Oh no, with Wyatt we did bands that weren't
as big as they could have been.
Weren't as big as they should have been. Weren't as big as they could have been.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Yeah. We did one on underrated bands, maybe, did we? Or overrated bands? Maybe overrated.
I don't remember doing that one. My list doesn't have any of the bands that were on the other list. Okay. And I've come straight out the gate, both feet off the ground, studs up.
This is going to be fun, I'm sure.
It's going to be. I've got 4 on this side, so let's see what
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13.
It's good, Joe. You're not going to rant tonight, then, isn't it?
I'm not going to rant. Well, I did have a
I've got
conversation
about
with
12 or 13. I've got about
I
12
did
or
have a
13.
conversation with White about this. So let me get this one out the way quickly. All right,
Oh,
because this
I
is for
know what it's going to be.
no, this is for Simon,
Oh, okay.
my son Simon.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Well, that's the first one on my list at the top here, actually.
Right,
Metallica.
okay. Simon absolutely hates Metallica with a passion. So that's about I don't like Metallica. But then actually there is this massive cult around Metallica. It has become this huge great thing. I've got a Metallica album, the Black Album. I like it.
Yes, the only one.
The rest of their stuff, there's some good tracks which I like. But they have got a following bordering on a religious cult. And if you compare them with the great, and they're a metal band, you compare them with the great metal bands that came out of the UK, they are not even close. So that's my first one, Metallica. For Simon. I hope you're listening, Simon. I got in there early.
So are we looking at people that are trendy to like, but actually aren't very good? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Trendy to like, but aren't very good.
Okay.
That maybe have a cult following. And so I've looked at it, the ones that I dislike. If people like a song just because of who it's by,
yeah,
because they're a big fan, I just think that's a bit of a nonsense, really. I mean, I like to think that I don't. Even the Beatles, there are a few songs I just don't get it. I don't get at all.
Well, there's two or three entire albums by Yes that I can't stick. So
well, there you go. It's good to know that we're not liking them just because of who they're performed by.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's the way I've kind of looked at it. And artists like that, and I must admit, a few of them, I would say vocally, I would put them definitely down as a sort of a cult, a cult singer, if you like, a cult band, a cult artist, because they're not that great at singing. So it's one of these Marmite things. Maybe you either love them or you hate them, and I don't understand why so many people can, because the songs just aren't that great, and that's the way I've looked at it. And I don't know whether you've got anyone like that on any list, Jeff, because I know you were struggling with this one.
I've got 4 bands or 4 artists down because I was struggling with all this. So please forgive me.
Chuck, give us all your 4 now, and then because we've got more, we can talk about later. So let's talk about
let's go in with both feet up in the air then. Radiohead.
Well, that's the second one on my list, Radiohead.
Now, it may simply be that I don't understand them, and I'm happy to accept that. But on the grounds that I understand most sorts of music, and generally speaking, I like something of most sorts of music, I don't get Radiohead. So either I just don't understand it, or they're really not as good as people think they are.
I think that's a good shout. OK Computer is okay. The rest, nah.
Like a lot of these artists in this list for me, as I said at the start, there are going to be 1 or 2 songs that I really like by them. In fact, 1 or 2 songs that I really love. And Radiohead is an example of that. Early Radiohead, maybe they'd gone a bit, well, they didn't really go Coldplay because they were quite rocky band when they first started. The likes of Creep, for example. I'm a freak. I'm a weirdo. You know the song Creep, which followed a very similar melody to The Air That I Breathe by Albert Hammond, the Hollies song. Albert Hammond and who co-wrote it with him? Can't remember. But so much so that now they get a credit on Creep by Radiohead. But they did another album, the one after that, maybe the next couple of albums. That was on Pablo Honey, the first album. But then they had the Bends. I mean, the High and Dry is a great song. Fake Plastic Trees is a great song. And on OK Computer, Karma Police and
Karma Police is my favourite song.
Karma Police and the very hypnotic. I'm trying to think what it's called now. No Surprises, with that hypnotic. If I don't play it tomorrow, I might play it on Friday. I've got a jam-packed show tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to get everything in, but I will, including the stuff that you send me later on, either today or on. But yeah, Radiohead I've got. But after the 90s, really, they started veering away. Maybe a bit like maybe the Beatles did in the mid of their career.
Maybe they're just seeking more than they've had, and it doesn't quite work for.
Yeah,
I
don't get it. I don't get Radiohead after this century's Radiohead at all, which is why they're on one and two on my list there, Metallica and Radiohead.
Right, so Jeff, you got Radiohead. What else you got, mate?
Adele.
Oh, nice one. Nice one. Yes.
Okay, let me just explain that. She's a talent. There is no doubt that she has an ability.
She's got a good voice.
Has she? She might have a good voice. Sometimes she does. Sometimes she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And she's so bloody depressing. And self. What's the word I'm looking for? Navel gazing or whatever. That it seems all about that. Whereas actually, she should just let the ability that she does have out. And I think she's got this cult following where everyone.
She absolutely has. Yeah, she absolutely.
And I'm not 100% certain that she deserves it all.
But she does support Tottenham Hotspur, so she
does. Which is probably why she's depressed all the time.
Probably so.
But so does Baby Spice. So I mean.
Well, I'm all in favour of Baby Spice personally, so I've got no issue with that.
Obviously, haven't seen it recently.
Having said that, she's done some songs that are like "Rolling in the Deep" as an example, which is a brilliant song, and there's one or two others as well. So none of these are completely well, some of yours might be, but none of the ones I've got are complete. Well, I think the next two might be completely useless, but I just think Adele doesn't necessarily warrant the cult following that she's got.
Yeah, agree.
This next lot definitely don't.
Interesting. One point about Adele. Sorry, one point on Adele before you go on. It's interesting to say about because she's often singing about her past romances and breakups and stuff, and she is a little bit gloomy. Well, Taylor Swift does that every other album. That she's a different bloke that she's been with, and she sings about them all, but they're all quite up tempo.
They are. They're different sorts of songs, and some of them are here, and some of them are there, and there's a country one and a pop one, and Adele just doesn't do that. She's sort of like I don't know, and it's probably very unfair of me. So I ask her forgiveness.
One thing I just suddenly thought of and I didn't mention it in the previous category. You mentioned country. I don't know whether it's quite fashionable to dislike sort of modern day country music now.
How can you not like it?
I don't know. There's old style country music. I mean, I'm not sure Stinks likes any country music, and generally, do you? You like the Outlaws and Johnny Cash and stuff.
Yeah, I like the Outlaws, but they're more southern rock. Country's all right, but I wouldn't run a mile to listen to it.
Mate, I went to Darius Rucker.
I know you did.
Darius, he was brilliant. His band were immaculate. Jake Owens, who was on before him, was fabulous. The Shires did like just the two of them without a band, and like filled the O2 with one acoustic guitar.
That's lovely. And Darius Rucker in Hootie and the Blowfish. I love Hootie and the Blowfish. I've got two of their albums. They're terrific.
Well, that's very much the beginnings of modern country. It is.
I wouldn't count either of the Hootie albums as country. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So yes, fine. And I'm okay with some modern country stuff. Some of the bands I've introduced you to are essentially country or bluegrass or whatever. So. But
I'll throw these two in together, and then you can ignore me, and I'll just chip in with your stuff. Westlife and Boyzone.
You not think in their genres, what they do?
In their genres, there are people who are way better.
Like?
Take that.
Okay. Well, to be honest,
who
between
are
Westlife and Boyzone, one of them is a lot better than the other one, I'm sure.
yeah, there are, but in my opinion, but that'll be Boyzone being better than Westlife.
I would have said the other way round.
Well, there we are. Westlife are just awful. I cannot deal with them.
Really?
They are. It's manufactured pap.
It's like
Well,
that.
That has a cult following that I genuinely don't understand.
It's like that. It's like that Aussie comedian who rings the police because there's 5 blokes in white suits outside, and actually all they are is corporate shills furthering a modelling career, and that absolutely defines exactly what those bands are like. I bloody hate all of them.
I don't. I actively like Take That. I think they have a very good band. I think they have some really good songs, and their performances live are brilliant. I've seen Boyzone live; they were awful. And I mean, I don't mind some of the Boyzone stuff. Like one or two of the songs are quite good. Westlife is just schmaltz to the nth degree, sickening. But people love them, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
Had a couple of verses there, Jeff. I feel like we're getting to the bridge and we all should stand up. in true Westlife style. Just realised my shirt makes it look like I'm sticking 2 fingers up to you there.
Yeah, it does. I did wonder what it.
I assumed it was an angel.
It's actually a rabbit.
Rabbit ears.
Rabbit ears. Right.
So that's me done. I'll shut up now about Westlife.
Interesting. Okay. Right. Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes, they're on my list.
They're on your list.
Overrated bunch of shite. Awful.
Do you not like them?
No, they're horrific. And every time they get played on Planet Rock, I message somebody to say this is not rock music. Get it off my station. They're bloody awful.
Oh, you won't be requesting one of them tomorrow.
No,
I don't mind. There are some. Under the Bridge is a great song.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one.
No, they have not done a decent song. They are shocking.
What's the matter with them?
Everything.
Okay.
I don't like their look. I don't like their sound. I don't like the faux funky whatever the hell they think they're doing. They're dreadful. Grisly. Awful.
It is. It is a bit funky, I must admit.
They're awful.
Did you know that a little known fact, the bassist in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who's called, I got a feeling this might not be his real name, he's called Flea.
Yes.
As in Flea.
Yes.
Was in the Back to the Future films. No, you wouldn't know because you didn't watch the Back to the Future films.
No, and he also regularly gets voted in the top 20 bassists of all time. That's by people who don't understand the bass guitar and are deaf. But anyway, there we go. Don't start me on that one. They're dreadful.
What's the name of the character? The one that eggs him on to race at the end, and Marty doesn't. He stops and lets him go, and he would have crashed had he gone forward. Oh, what's his name?
No, never seen the film.
You've never seen the film? I know you haven't. All right. Okay, so we both agree Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Not quite sure what they've got.
Let me throw in a couple. I've got another controversial one of my own, but I'll throw in a couple from Wyatt. Okay, I said, so who are the bands that have got the massive followings when there is no reasonable reason why they should? And straight out the gate, he went the Foo Fighters and Oasis. So I went, okay. So he said, Oasis, shit Mank Beatles, and they have got this massive following, and everybody worships the ground they stand on. And he said, doubtless they will, when they reform next year and the year after, they'll play to packed out stadiums with a load of people who queue for hours to get the tickets and think they're God's gift. And he went, and they aren't all that. So I wouldn't have had Oasis on my list, I just don't like them. But he was adamant that in this category, Oasis are slap bang in the middle, right there as the classic example of that band. And I said, well, why the Foo Fighters? And he said, for the same reason. He said, they've got this massive following because it's Dave Grohl and because it's Taylor Hawkins and because they were Nirvana, and they've got this great thing as a result of that. But when you look at them and you listen to their music, you go, why? So they've got some great songs, which they have. I've got 3 or 4 on one of my Spotify playlists. But when I listen to the albums, which I've done occasionally, the Foos, I just go, they're not all that. But I mean, Ruben, my son, he's got Dave Grohl pictures at home. I mean, he's a super fan of the Foos. And, you know, some people are, but I agree with Wyatt. I don't necessarily agree with Oasis because I can kind of see, I don't like the music, but I can see why people do. But I agree with him on the Foos. You go, why? Just why?
Well, 2 points there. One, why don't you like the music of Oasis? I know they get tagged with this Beatles sound-alikes, but so many bands are, to be fair. And I think
that was a Mancunian desperate move. I think that Manchester needed a band that they could say, oh, they're going to be as big, or they are as big, or they're as good as the Beatles because they came from Liverpool. I think that's just a rivalry thing. I think Oasis are a decent band. I don't like all of their stuff, but I think they're a good band. I don't see any.
They're all right. I just, you know, there's half a dozen songs that I can listen to, but I never listen to Oasis and go, yeah, I really must pay £200 to go and see these people because I'd rather watch the Beatles on YouTube. Yeah, but I mean, you know, they weren't on my list, but I thought I'm going to talk to Wyatt because he knows the music industry and say, well, you know, off the cuff, what would you say? And Oasis and the Foos were the 2 he came up with.
Again, with Oasis, certainly, maybe with Foo Fighters, massively successful. So yes. Is that another reason for not liking them? I mean,
it's not. But he was very clear about saying to me, he said, "This is not about who you like. It's about the unwarranted attention." Because we talked about the not like thing. He said to me, you know, because we talked about it in a lot more in a wider scope. He said, you know, there are these bands that people feel they have to like. It's the rules. You have to like these bands. And he said, and so for me, he said, I hated everything that was ever produced in the punk movement. He said, it's all musically utter crap. And he said, but everybody feels they need to own Never Mind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. He said, it is literally one of the worst albums ever made at every level, but everybody thinks they have to own it because it's kind of de rigueur to own it.
Well, obviously, I think that is bollocks. But
that's true. I understand that, but I agree with Wyatt wholeheartedly on that one. But he said, you know, that he said that's about likes and dislikes. But he did talk about Never Mind the Bollocks. He said, you know, if you own a vinyl album collection, you had to have Never Mind the Bollocks. And he said it was almost like, you know, you could have it as a picture on the wall, but don't play the music because it's crap. But it was one of those things you had to own.
Could you not argue the same about Dark Side of the Moon then? People feel they have to have that.
Well, there's a lot of people who would say that people follow Pink Floyd and they're a cult band. I don't think that's true because I think that they've stood the test of time in a way that these other bands haven't, and they've got, you know, people that like them across the world. I don't think they fall into that category. That's about likes and dislikes.
I actually had Sex Pistols down in the previous list, which I didn't mention, of bands that are, it's trendy to dislike for no reason. I mean, but I know that there's a reason in many respects, but they're just liking it because it's disliking it. Sorry, and saying they dislike it because it's the Sex Pistols, and it was
because the music is terrible.
Well, it isn't.
It isn't.
Again, you come to
the music. The music, yeah, of course it's music, but the music is awful. So that's, you can't listen.
Your opinion.
Okay, so Coldplay and the Sex Pistols, both disliked because they're disliked. Are you saying that the Sex Pistols are as good as Coldplay? Musically?
Different style of music, I would say.
Who are we to say what is good music? Let me.
Okay, that's a different story.
Let me offer this as a thought process. Richard Rodney Bennett is the foremost classical composer, British classical composer of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Everything that he has composed is shite. It is unlistenable to the common man.
He's the English Stockhausen.
And yet, there would be no doubt that musically, is very, very, I don't know if he's dead actually, very, very clever, very, very able, and he's pushing musical boundaries like McLaughlin will have done in his genre to the nth degree of whatever.
Yep.
Does that make them a better musician than Mick Jones, who could write music, who could play music, who could string tunes together? Is Paul McCartney a better or not such a good musician as Richard Rodney Bennett, as an example? Because one of them writes a tune and one of them writes something which is way out there and musically wacky. You can't compare. You can't compare. It is not for us to say Johnny Rotten, like the Sex Pistols are musically inept.
Except that the Sex Pistols are musically inept. Mick Jones might have been a halfway decent guitarist who could write a vaguely halfway decent song, not delivered by that Arsenal supporting meathead at the front. But the album is shit. Anyway, enough of the Sex Pistols.
He's just a vocalist, remember. There was a band behind him, and they were. I mean, Steve Jones isn't a bad guitarist, to be fair. Paul Cook isn't a bad drummer, to be fair. Graham Matlock was a decent guitar player as well, a decent songwriter. Probably wrote most of the songs. Johnny Rotten was just a mouthpiece at the front. But that's we know.
Anyway, we're not talking about the Sex Pistols, but that was we had quite an interesting debate about that on the phone. About, well, likes and dislikes, and then this cult thing, and that was the album that he picked out. He said, everybody had to own Nevermind the Bollocks, and it was just because you had to own it. It was nothing to do with musical merit. It was nothing to do with anything other than the fact that it was about the cult of punk at the time, this anti-establishment, anti, Deep Purple, anti-Yes, anti-everything, and so what? Anyway,
guys?
That was the debate.
Sorry, Jeff.
So what else have you got?
What else you got? Okay, well, I've got some. I could throw. Oh yeah, I'm just going to do this to antagonise Pete again here, probably. I'm going to throw Rush in, actually.
No, I agree. They're on my list.
Don't really get the whiny voice. I mean, again, I like the odd song by them, but it's very few and far between, to be honest.
Strangely, I have their greatest hits album.
And they're all...
one of my 196 that I sent to Jeff the other day. But I have got 3 of their albums. I've got 3 of their albums because I'm building a vinyl album collection. Do I play them very regularly? No. I've played one of them twice, and the other 2 I played the day Gordon sent them to me, and I haven't played them since. Now, interestingly, Rush just announced today that they are doing a 50th anniversary tour, and they have got playing the drums instead of Neil Peart, the German girl, Annika. I've forgotten her name. Annika. No, not Annika Rice. What's her name? Annika.
I'd go to watch that.
I'm just trying to think what her.
I did read about that. Yeah, they got
Annika Niles, and I didn't know anything about her, so I spent a bit of time before we came on air listening to her stuff on YouTube. And she's like a jazz fusion drummer, and she's absolutely brilliant. But I agree with you. I've got them on my list because although I don't mind them, I think that there is this massive cult of Rush, and their output makes me go, why?
Why? Yeah, okay.
It's not to say they haven't written some great songs, because they have. You know, Tom Sawyer is one of the great rock songs, but they are patchy, and his voice is awful.
Right. I'm glad we agree on something anyway. I've got 3 here. I'm going to throw them all in together, sort of bracket them all together. All singer-songwriters with very limited vocal ability, in my humble opinion, even though I know we can't comment on these things, Geoff. But they don't sound they don't sound great singers to me. But in all of these 3 cases, there are at least 1 or 2 songs I really, really love. But overall, not. One is Tom Waits.
Yeah, haven't got him on my list, but I totally get it. He's got a cult following, absolutely.
A cult following, and I mean, the first album I love. It's a bit more piano led, but he just went a bit freaky after that, and his voice is just, I don't know,
just and really annoying.
It's, yeah, I don't know how to describe it really. But on a similar note, a depressing voice. Again, I like. Well, one I can think of, but maybe that whole album isn't too bad. One song is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
That thing you played with Kylie was weird, but I quite liked.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Where the wild roses grow or something.
Yeah.
Nick Cave.
Nick Cave has just partnered with some charity that you would not expect him to have partnered with as the kind of ambassador for the charity. I was reading something about it the other day. It was something like Alzheimer's Society or prostate cancer or one of the charities that I support. And it was it was one of those things where you go, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Oh,
Can't remember
okay.
what it was, but no, I agree with you. He has a cult following too, and for reasons that are beyond me. Which is your third one?
A unique voice. The other one is, surprisingly, again, I love more than one song by this particular band and the solo artist behind it. He went on and had a solo career too. It's Lou Reed.
Yeah, I've got Lou Reed. I've got Lou Reed on my list.
I love Lou Reed.
Right, and Velvet Underground. And the Velvet
Underground. Transformer is one of the best albums there's ever been.
Okay, right. Stop there. I put Lou Reed on this list in brackets because I own Transformer and I think it is a brilliant album. And I own Berlin, which is not quite as good. You take those 2 albums out of the equation, and the rest, he does have a cult following, and I think he has a cult following because of the Velvet Underground with Nico thing. And I think we were having the conversation. I was watching something about, what were the 5 albums that Neil Young says are the greatest albums of all time, the ones that impacted him, the ones that had the impact on him, and the Velvet Underground with Nico was one of the 5, as was Exile on Main Street, as was Highway 61 Revisited, as was Blue by Joni Mitchell, and I can't remember what the 5th one was. But I agree with you. I think Lou Reed's. I agree with Geoff. Transformer, absolutely brilliant album, brilliant. Berlin, nearly as good, not as good. I don't know the one with Nico. I'm going to get that because it's a cult album because of the banana Andy Warhol thing.
Yeah, Andy Warhol sleeve. Yeah,
I've got that. It's a fabulous album.
Is it? It's worth getting. Is it?
A lot more than just Lou Reed.
Yeah. No, I will get hold of a copy of that. But I understand what you mean, and he does have this aura, this cult, the Lou Reed cult, and I do get that. I think that's I think.
Yeah, sorry, Colin. I jumped in very quickly there. I do get say, Transformer. I think is a fabulous album, but outside of that, I'm not 100% like okay with a lot of his other stuff.
No.
But
I like the Velvet Underground and Nico album. It is a classic album. It's often voted as one of the greatest albums ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was at number one, I think, in one of the was it Rolling Stone magazine or Q magazine or whatever, had it as the number one album, top album. I mean, some of the songs on it, like Waiting for the Man. I mean, it's a great rock song as far as I'm concerned. But Sunday Morning is a very nice opening track. But some of the best songs from Velvet Underground, I don't think he sings on, actually.
no, what's his name sings some of them.
I'm trying to think of his name. Yeah. But Pale Blue Eyes is a great song. I love Pale Blue Eyes. And
what's his name? What's his name?
Sterling. He's
I'll have a look.
Yeah, you have a look. Anyway, that's mine. Velvet Underground. And
Okay. So here's my other controversial one.
John Cale.
John Cale. That's right. Yeah. Here's my other controversial one. Nirvana.
Oh, okay. Well, you had Foo Fighters.
Nirvana. Absolute cult following. Partly because Kurt Cobain's dead. And when you listen to their album, everybody had to have, and I think part of it is because the 90s was generally so crap that the bands that kind of crawled out of the swamp in the 90s and produced something which you went, oh yeah, that's different and I want to listen to it. But then you listen to it now and you listen to the output and you go, what was it about this that everybody liked? So I've got Nevermind and I've got the Unplugged album, which I like. Okay, so the stripped down Unplugged album, I think is really good.
Well, there's only two other albums.
Yeah, I know, but In Utero and whatever the other one was called. But what I'm saying is that even when you listen to Nevermind with its iconic cover and the iconic Nirvana sounds, you go, well, there's 4 or 5 good tracks on there, but the rest aren't all that. And I think that because of the image, I think a lot of this is to do with image. Because of the image, because of Kurt Cobain being the kind of engaging personality, not, people associated with Kurt Cobain. He had this aura. In the same way that Jim Morrison had an aura, although clearly the Doors would not fall into this category. But you kind of look at it and you go, well, what was it about Nirvana that everybody liked? So they're not a band that I don't like. I've got 2 of their albums, but I just think that they have a status which their output probably doesn't deserve. And the other one, I've got a couple of outliers, which I'll talk about at the end. But the other one I've thrown in here is the Smiths.
The Smiths, okay.
Now, the Smiths have got this fanatical group of Smith heads. And I just go, what in the name of all that is holy were you thinking? It's depressing. It's horrible.
Have you listened to some of his lyrics?
Yeah, some
of them are absolute genius.
Great, be a poet. No, really.
I'm not a big Morrissey fan. I'm not a big Morrissey fan, except the fact that he does write some really good lyrics.
I don't dispute that.
What's his name? Johnny Marr on guitar. Well, he's a good guitarist.
He is a good guitarist, and he really deserved a better band.
Well, I think the Smiths it's interesting. I think the Smiths hold a place. Now, whether we think that is warranted or not, I think they hold a place in music that they deserve. I think that their output was worth it. I tend to agree with you about Nirvana. Their Unplugged album made it for them. I think they would have disappeared without it. But I think certainly within English music, I think the Smiths hold their own. Personally,
yeah. Well, I think Oasis do as well in the same mould, really. Um,
Well, no,
but
Oasis and the
never
Smiths
mind.
are not in the same mould, because Oasis you can actually sing to. The Smiths
Oh,
you
you
go
sing
and
to the
throw yourself,
Smiths.
you defenestrate yourself to.
No, you could sing along to some. You could sing along.
I'm
to
going to
some
listen to the Smiths, and then I'm going to throw myself off the roof of a multi-story building in Moscow, because actually that's better.
Oh,
Bless you.
never mind, Dave. Never mind, stinks. Never mind, as in Nirvana said. And unusually, of course, and ironically, even our previous discussion, there'll be lots of people out there screaming, "No, never mind, it's the bollocks."
Yeah,
You see what I did there?
absolutely. See
Yeah,
what you
very
did there.
Right. So, oh, okay. What about? I don't know much about this band, but all I know is whenever I hear them, John Peel used to play them a lot. Never really got it. Real cult following. Had a load of albums. The Fall. Do you know much about the Fall?
I know nothing about them.
Okay, I like one song by the Fall, and it's a cover of Ray Davies's "Victoria." That was a hit. But I don't.
Says it
Other than
about
that,
all then.
it does. I'm
You've
not a
just-
great fan of. Also, similarly, a bit depressing, that sort of style of music by The Cure.
I was just going to say, you're going to talk about the Cure now, aren't you?
Again,
this
I
Fat
like
Bob?
a lot. Boys Don't Cry and Love Cats, and I mean they made some great songs. On Friday, I mean, love, superb. But overall, that genre of music, and New Order before them, similarly. And
Yeah, but they did the thing with John Barnes for the English football team.
They did.
That,
It's
that was
interesting
banging.
because a lot of these you've picked are this Mancunian sound. Like,
So they like Mancunians.
And I'm just going to mention as my last one, apart from my jab at two modern artists, I've got a Mancunian or the Mancunian leader of the last band I'm going to talk about as well.
Well, can I throw one in before we get there, just for a giggle? Captain Beefheart.
Never understood that.
Nice one. That's
now,
Captain
I own a
Beefheart.
Captain Beefheart album, to my shame.
Really?
I could not tell you what it's called. I've played it once.
One was Safe. Was it Safe something?
I don't know. The only reason I bought it is because it's got Rekord playing guitar on it, who is a genius.
Oh yeah.
To be perfectly blunt, he might as well be playing a penny whistle. It is awful to the nth degree.
Safe as milk.
Safe as milk. That's what it's called. That's what I've got.
It's got a billion tracks on it, hasn't it? I think.
Oh, it's got a billion and one tracks, and none of them are worth listening to.
No.
And yet, I mean, John Peel used to play them. That's what reminded me.
Yeah, he did.
Had a huge cult following.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Okay, so this is really interesting because my other one is exactly like them. So no, Zappa's brilliant. There were two bands. There were two. I love Frank Zappa. There were two bands that of the same ilk. There was Captain Beefheart. I agree with you. Never. You listen to Captain Beefheart and you go, cult following. Absolutely no idea why. A band where people went, oh, you should listen to Captain Beefheart, and everyone went, oh shit, everybody's listening to Captain Beefheart. I better listen to Captain Beefheart. And before you knew where you were wearing the silly hat and you got the T-shirt. And the other band that falls into that same category, the lead singer being from Manchester, is Van de Graaff Generator.
Okay.
Now, when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, you had to like Van de Graaff Generator. I went to see them live twice at the Marquee Club. Exactly. I went but you're a little bit younger. So I went to see them twice at the Marquee Club with Mark Stickley. You remember Mark Stickley?
Oh yeah.
Right. He was a massive Van de Graaff Generator fan, and it was kind of like if you like music, you have to like Van de Graaff Generator. All right. If you like prog, you have to like Van de Graaff Generator. They did one good album, and I'm going to put good in inverted commas. Okay, so Pawn Hearts, which has got a Plague of Lighthouse Keepers on, which is the thing that they're known for, and Manhug. That was their pièce de résistance. It's almost impossible to listen to. His voice is just woeful, but you had to like Van de Graaff Generator in the same way that you had to like Captain Beefheart. And frankly, it was a cult. And I'm very pleased to be out of it. It was like Waco without the guns.
Oh no, okay. No, I'm not familiar with much Van der Graaf. Have you ever requested a Van der Graaf generator song?
I did, and I can't remember why it was. It was because
Was there a power cut that day?
we talked about them on another show. I think we talked about them on another show for some reason. And I did, and everybody messaged in and said this is crap, and I was listening to it going, this is crap. So I was agreeing with all the people who said, I think Sarah said, what in God's name's all of this?
What the hell?
It's awful. But it is a classic example of everybody getting caught up in this thing. Everybody likes it, and I'm going to feel a bit like a pork sausage at a Jewish wedding if I don't. So therefore, I'm going to. And then you look at it afterwards and you go, what was I thinking? I could have been listening to Elton John, but I wasn't allowed to listen to him because he was not trendy. And instead, I had to listen to Van der Graaf Generator. I need my head looking at. Yeah, ridiculous.
Right. Okay. Well, is that all of them? I think I've probably got a few more.
I just want to throw two in because they've got cult following in this modern era, and these are the two who have literally zero talent, not one iota of musical ability. They are auto-tuned to the point where if they were actually singing live, you would have to shoot yourself. They are so bad. Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay.
Absolutely weapons grade, freaking awful. Grim.
I really like one Nicki Minaj.
Useless. Okay. That she's been auto-tuned to a point where you could just about listen to it. If she had to sing, she would be so many tones off that it would be, you'd have to throw yourself off a building. They are awful.
Cardi B has got a new album out, I think.
Yes, right. That will make a really good ashtray.
Yeah, because Barbie requested, she said she's heard Cardi B album and the new Taylor Swift album out on Friday, and she wanted a track from each. And I said, I'll get one of them in. I put in Taylor Swift rather than Cardi B. I didn't even listen to Cardi B one, to be honest. But I found your superior musical knowledge.
I think Starships is I really enjoy listening to it. Is it a good song? Probably not.
Not my bag, I guess. Not my bag.
But there's something about it. I go, I quite like this.
Dreadful.
Oh, 2 words that someone that's disliked, and you probably dislike him as well, actually, thinking about it. James Blunt. Other than his Twitter activity, he's always joked about, and ridiculed.
Well, that's because
he is. That's because he's got a really awful voice. I remember having a conversation with my dad about this because I think it was the year before he died, and he was watching the Festival of Remembrance, and I went to see him the following day, and he was ranting about the Festival of Remembrance and saying they had this ludicrous man with this ridiculous voice playing the piano, and what was he doing at the Festival of Remembrance? And I went, Dad, he was a tank commander, and he was in the first tank into Mostar during the war in Yugoslavia. And he looked at me because he thought I was joking. And I went, no, really? And he went, right, okay, fine, I'll shut up then. But it was...
we saw him. We saw him at Hyde Park. He was one of the earlier acts when we saw Shania Twain and Blondie and Take That at the end, whatever. He was awful. And he did this like jumping off and surfing thing with the crowd. Go, no, why are you doing this? Please don't do this.
Make it go away.
But he did. He's got a couple of songs which aren't dreadful.
No, I don't like his. Again, I don't like his current stuff. I liked his first. I think one of the first people to get his first album, actually, Back to Bedlam. But not subsequently. But he's brilliant on Twitter, as he was called.
He is hilarious on Twitter.
He is absolutely hilarious.
Absolutely brilliant.
The main one I can think of, and I probably mentioned this one before, I mentioned it again, where someone, because he always replies to people, doesn't he, with some...
Yeah.
He said like he used to, his real name, because his real name is actually James Blount, 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 James Blount. He said he changed his name from Blount because people used to rhyme it with Count, which I thought was quite amusing. They changed it to Blunt. Right. On that note, this isn't a musical artist at all, but someone that's really trended dislike is James Corden. I thought I'd throw that in at the end.
I love James Corden.
I think he's brilliant, and everyone hates him now.
He's a twat.
He's also both.
He's a twat and a West Ham fan.
Supporter, yeah, but you know,
he's also both. He's really interesting. He's biography also both whatever it's called. It's really interesting.
Okay. No, I think he's very good, and I love the show with Gavin and Stacey. Love that show. Yeah. Right, come on, we better end, otherwise Shaggy ain't going to go to bed or get something to eat or whatever he does at this time of the evening over there. Thanks very much, guys. Fabulous as usual. I'm thinking at one point, maybe next. Are you both around next week?
Yeah.
Well, can we go power ballads?
Yep.
Discuss that afterwards. You might have a little bit more ease with that than this one, Jeff. But yeah, there's so many I can think of on the top of my head. But thanks very much, Jeff. Thank you very much, Pete. And this podcast will be posted to the usual places in the coming days by Shaggy, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you use, Jeff. Anyway you get your podcast, it should be there. It will remain on all the Facebook for a couple of weeks, I think, nowadays, and they delete them.
And on YouTube forever.
YouTube forever, yeah, definitely YouTube forever. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. And I'll be on air tomorrow morning with all your favourite tunes, the ones you've requested, on CBW Radio at 8 a.m. UK time. So I'll see you then. And all I've got to say now is, one day, of course, we will be on. I don't think we will be. Right. Especially when we did sort of ridicule Cliff Richard at times. Well, you did.
You mentioned sex. We're never going to be on the BBC. And he said a bad word. Never.
I apologise for the bad word.
You said an even worse word than me.
Uncensored. It's uncensored.
Yeah. Good job.
So yeah, this podcast will be posted to the usual places, as I said. And all I got left to say is good night from me.
It's a good night from him.
Good night from them.